How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was April 27th, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was The Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, versus Fuego del Sol and D3. That was a great match. But the ending to it, The Acclaimed went over because Max Caster pinned Fuego del Sol with the Acclaim to Fame from Anthony Bowens and Max Caster. Well, before the match, after Fuego del Sol and D3 came out and The Acclaimed came out, Max Caster done a rap on Fuego del Sol and D3, and Anthony Bowens said his signature line, AEW, The Acclaimed have arrived, which that was cool. Match 2, it was the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal, versus Aaron Fry and David Ali. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Sydal brothers went over because Matt Sydal pinned Aaron Fry with the double lightning spiral from Matt and Mike Sydal. Match 3, it was Dante Martin versus Andrew Palace. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Dante Martin went over with the 450 splash. Match 4, it was the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, versus Duke Davis and Gannon Jones. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Varsity Blondes went over because Brian Pillman Jr. pinned Duke Davis with the sit-out powerbomb diving neckbreaker combination from Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman Jr. Match 5, it was Brian Cage versus Marty Casaus. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Brian Cage went over with the drill claw. Match 6, it was Layla Hirsch versus Renee Michelle. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Layla Hirsch went over with the cross arm breaker. Match 7, it was Lance Archer versus Jake St. Patrick. That was a squash match, but the ending to it, Lance Archer went over with the Helicoaster. Match 8, it was Diamante versus Rachel Rose. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Diamante went over with the Code Red. Match 9, it was Lee Johnson versus Will Allday. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Lee Johnson went over with the Ushigarashi, but after the match, as Lee Johnson was celebrating his victory, QT Marshall came out, attacked Lee Johnson from behind and beat the shit out of him, and QT Marshall executed the Diamond Cutter to Lee Johnson, and Dustin Rhodes came out, and QT Marshall retreated. Well, Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall were staring each other down while Aaron Solo, Nick Camarado, and Anthony Ogogo came out by QT Marshall's side, so the Factory and Dustin Rhodes stared each other down, which that was cool. Match 10, it was Penelope Ford versus Ashley Diambois. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Penelope Ford went over with the Fisherman's Suplex. That was match 10, by the way. Match 11, it was Colt Cabana versus Cole Carter. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Colt Cabana went over with the Superman. Match 12, it was Kailyn King versus Danny Jordan. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Kailyn King went over with the Kingdom Falls. Match 13, it was SCU, which are Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian versus Liam Gray and Adrian Alanis. That was a great match, but the ending to it, SCU went over because Frankie Kazarian pinned Liam Gray with the best Meltzer ever from wait wait match 13. It was SCU, which are Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian versus Liam Gray and Adrian Alanis. That was a great match, but the ending to it, SCU went over because Frankie Kazarian pinned Liam Gray with the best Meltzer ever from Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. And match 14, which was the main event, it was the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and 10 versus the Hardy Family Office, which are Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, and The Blade. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Dark Order went over because 10 made The Blade tap out to the full Nelson. Well, besides all that, the Hardy Family Office, which are Matt Hardy, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, The Blade, and The Bunny, cut a promo, and Matt Hardy was talking about how the Dark Order were stupid and how his 3 little kids were smarter than the Dark Order, and how their plan worked between during the match between Private Party versus Private Party, which are Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy versus Colt Cabana and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order, how that plan worked out and everything, and the Hardy and Matt Hardy was talking about how he hated the Dark Order and how the Hardy Family Office were going to kick the Dark Order's asses and everything, which that was cool. And the Dark Order and the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and 10, cut a promo, and Evil Uno was talking about how the Hardy Family Office have been a thorn on their side for about a month now, and Evil Uno was pretty much putting over Stu Grayson and 10, pretty much calling them badasses and everything, and also putting over himself, and the Dark Order. Well, Evil Uno was also talking about how they were going to kick the Hardy Family Office's ass and everything, which that was cool. But besides all that, Taz and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And Jake the Snake Roberts done guest commentary along with Taz and Excalibur during the match between Lance Archer versus Jake St. Patrick. Jake the Snake Roberts done great on guest commentary. And the referees for the event were Frank Gastineau, Mike Posey, Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Mike Posey refereed the match between The Acclaimed versus Fuego del Sol in D3. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between the Seidel brothers versus Aaron Fry and David Ali. Frank Gastineau refereed the match between Dante Martin versus Andrew Palace. Mike Posey, that was Frank Gastineau, by the way. Mike Posey refereed the match between the Varsity Blondes versus Duke Davis and Gannon Jones. Frank Gastineau refereed the match between Brian Cage versus Marty Casaus. Paul Turner refereed the match between Layla Hirsch versus Renee Michelle. Paul Turner refereed the match between Lance Archer versus Jake St. Patrick. Frank Gastineau refereed the match between Diamante versus Rachel Rose. Rick Knox refereed the match between Lee Johnson versus Will Allday. That was Rick Knox, by the way. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Penelope Ford versus Ashley D'Ambrose. That was Aubrey Edwards, by the way. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Colt Cabana versus Cole Carter. Mike Posey refereed the match between Kailyn King versus Danny Jordan. Paul Turner, that was Mike Posey, by the way. Paul Turner refereed the match between SCU versus Liam Gray and Adrian Alanis. That was Paul Turner, by the way. And Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between the Dark Order versus the Hardy Family Office. All the referees done awesome as usual. But besides all that, the match card for tonight's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Darby Allin versus 10 for the AEW TNT title. The Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal. Hangman Page. The match card for tonight's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Darby Allin versus 10. The match card for tonight's All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite, it's going to be Darby Allin versus 10 for the AEW TNT title. The Young Bucks, which are Matt and Nick Jackson, versus the Sydal brothers, which are Matt and Mike Sydal. Hangman Page versus Brian Cage. Pena El Cerro Miedo versus Orange Cassidy. The Nightmare Family, which are Dustin Rhodes, Billy Gunn, and Lee Johnson, versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, and Nick Comoroto, and Chris Statlander versus Penelope Ford. Those are the matches that have been announced. But those are the matches on the match card. Now, besides the matches that are on the match card and everything, the Inner Circle, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Santana, and Ortiz, and the Pinnacle, which are MJF, Wardlow, Shawn Spears, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler, are going to be having a face-to-face parlay. So the match card for tonight's AEW Dynamite looks like it's going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it and everything. So that covers that. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dark from last night, which was April 27th, 2021. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road.